heavy scent of damp pine and expensive leather should have been my first warning. Instead, it was the sound of that briefcase clicking open, the rhythmic, metallic thud of $10 million in cold cash hitting the table that signaled the end of my life as I knew it. Silas Blackwood's signet ring felt like ice against my jaw as he forced me to look at him. His eyes weren't cold, though. They burned. They were like obsidian flames, assessing me, calculating my worth, and claiming me all at once. "You're mine now, Elara," he whispered. His voice had this low, gravelly slide to it that sent a genuine shiver down my spine. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I actually leaned into his touch, keeping my gaze wet and trembling to hide the fact that I was already counting the guards. 4 in sight. 2 more shadows breathing just past the French doors. All of them carrying. Behind me, I could hear my father's breathing pick up. That desperate sound of a starving dog watching a steak get sliced. He was staring at the money, not at the daughter he'd just sold to pay off a gambling debt. "She's beautiful," Silas remarked. His hand moved from my face to the silk of my wedding dress, a dress he'd paid for and sent this morning in a box tied with a red ribbon. "But she looks fragile." "She's a flower, Mr. Blackwood," my father stammered, snatching at the cash like he was afraid it would vanish into thin air. "Do with her as you wish." I lowered my head, letting a single well-timed tear track down my cheek. On the inside, I was mapping every exit. I was memorizing the security code I'd caught a glimpse of on the way in. I even noticed how Silas favored his right hand despite being a lefty. Maybe an old injury. Information is the only way to survive. Fragile. Please. I'd spent 3 years deep in the Federal Financial Crimes Unit before my disappearance. I wasn't here because my father was a loser. I was here because Silas Blackwood has a soft spot for broken things, and I'd spent months perfecting the art of looking shattered. "Do you have anything to say?" Silas asked me directly. His thumb brushed my lower lip in a way that felt possessive but strangely gentle. The words caught in my throat, not because I was scared, but because I was calculating. Every move had a consequence. Every shaky breath was part of the act. "Please," I whispered, my voice breaking at just the right moment. "Don't hurt me." Something flickered in his eyes. Was it disappointment? No, it was recognition. For a split second, I wondered if he saw right through me, if he knew there was a wolf hiding in this doe's clothing. But then he smiled, a predator smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "I don't damage what belongs to me, Elara. I perfect it." He turned to my father, his voice turning like flint. "Leave! You've been paid! Your debt is gone! If I ever see you on this mountain again, they'll never find what's left of you!" My father didn't even look back. Not once. He just grabbed the briefcase and walked out, leaving me alone with the king of the ridge. The door shut with a heavy, terrifying finality. Silas put his hand on my waist. His grip was firm, but it wasn't cruel. "Now," he said, studying me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. "Let's find out who you really are." My heart skipped. Did he know? Was my cover blown already? "I'm no one," I whispered, sticking to the script. The fragility, the lie. Just a debt that's been paid. "No," he said, lifting my chin again. "You're mine now, and I take care of what's mine." That's when it hit me. I'd prepared for the cruelty. I'd prepared for the violence and the coldness. I hadn't prepared for protection. I hadn't prepared for this possessive kind of care, or the way his touch actually steadied me when it should have made me run. Before we move on, if you've ever felt invisible, or like you were never the first choice, this story is for you. If you're drawn to stories about powerful protection and finally being seen in a world that ignores you, hit that subscribe button. Because not everyone finds a place where they feel valued, but you just did. 3 weeks ago, I was standing in a windowless federal office with no address. My handler slid a photo across the desk. Silas Blackwood stepping off a private jet, surrounded by men who didn't carry guns just for show. "He's laundering billions through Appalachian timber," David said, tapping the picture. "We need someone inside." "So find a weakness," I told him, already knowing the answer. "We did." David gave me a thin smile. "He collects beautiful, broken things." I'm looking at that memory now from the other side of the glass. Inside Silas's mountain fortress, he's leading me through halls of dark wood and cold stone, his hand heavy on the small of my back, guiding me like a prize he just won. "You'll find I'm a generous man, Elara," he said, stopping at these massive double doors carved with forest scenes. "As long as you remember who gave you a home when your own flesh and blood threw you away." "I won't forget," I whispered, keeping my voice small and breathy. He likes that. I can see the tension leave his shoulders. He thinks he bought a broken doll to decorate his big, lonely house. He doesn't notice that while he's watching my lips, I'm watching the reflection in the window, counting the guards and timing their rounds. The doors opened to a master suite that smelled like cedar and secrets. A massive bed took up half the room. There were leather chairs by a fireplace big enough to burn a man. The floor-to-ceiling windows showed nothing but misty valleys, and a 100-foot drop with no way down. "You're trembling," he noted. He stepped closer, reaching for the red ribbon at my waist, the same one from the box, still tied around my dress like a bow on a gift. "I've never—" I paused, letting real fear thicken my voice. "I've never been with someone like you." His hand stopped. His eyes narrowed. He was reading me again, looking for something under the surface. "Someone who bought you?" he asked, his voice incredibly soft. "Someone powerful," I corrected, looking at the floor. "Someone who could destroy me with a single word." Unexpectedly, he stepped back. "You'll sleep here tonight, alone." I looked up, and for the first time, the surprise on my face was real. "What?" "I didn't buy you for that," he said, his expression shifting into something I couldn't quite read. "Not yet." He went to the closet and pulled out a silk nightgown in deep emerald. "There are clothes for you. Food is coming up. Tomorrow, I'll show you the rest of your new home." He laid the gown on the bed and headed for the door. Before he left, he paused. "Your father sold you because he thought you were weak. I bought you because I suspect you're not." My blood went cold. He knows. He has to know. But he just gave me that predator's smile. "Sleep well, Elara. Tomorrow, the games begin." The door shut. I heard the lock click. I was alone in a room more suffocating than any jail cell. I waited exactly 17 minutes, counting every single second, before I moved. I slipped out of the wedding dress and into the silk. I checked every inch of that room, finding 2 cameras, 1 hidden mic, and a security panel that would take me days to break. I'm trapped, exactly where I wanted to be. When the food arrived, I ate slowly, tasting things I'd never had before. When I finally lay down on sheets that cost more than my father's car, I kept my eyes closed, but didn't sleep. Silas Blackwood didn't just buy a doll today. He bought a federal agent with a grudge and a job to do. He bought the woman who is going to burn his entire empire to the ground. But as the wind howled outside, a tiny voice in my head asked a dangerous question. What if he's not the monster they sent me to kill? What if the real monsters are the ones who sent me here? You can feel the tension, can't you? That moment when someone powerful finally looks at her when nobody else would. Some people watch this for the story, but others feel it because they know what it's like to be overlooked or to want a love that feels both safe and completely consuming. If you're one of those people quietly watching and feeling every bit of this, subscribe to the channel. You're home here. The library door swung open, no warning, no footsteps. I froze. I was still holding the false-bottomed humidor, Silas's encrypted hardware wallet, feeling heavy and cold against my palm. What are you doing in here? Silas's voice cut through the silence like a blade. I hadn't heard him coming. The man moved like a ghost on his own mountain. My heart started jackhammering against my ribs. I'd been in this house for 6 hours, and I'd already been caught. It was a stupid, amateur mistake. The wallet felt like it was burning my skin. I couldn't put it back, and I definitely couldn't hide it. It smelled like you in here. The books, the leather, His eyes weren't even on me. They were fixed on the door behind me. In 3 quick strides, he crossed the room, clamped his hand over my mouth, and shoved me behind a massive bookcase. Don't make a sound, he hissed. His breath was hot against my ear, his body pinned against mine, holding me to the wall. Then I heard them. Footsteps in the hallway. Heavy, synchronized, and definitely armed. Where is he? A voice asked. Thick Russian accent. A library should be down here. Another one replied, getting closer. Silas's grip on my mouth tightened, his other arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me deeper into the shadows. The hardware wallet was still in my hand, trapped right between our chests. The library door creaked open again. Empty, the Russian voice muttered. Blackwood knows we're here. Keep looking. Victor wants the girl too. The new acquisition, the debt payment. My eyes went wide. They knew about me. How? My father. It had to be him. He'd sold me twice, once to Silas and once to whoever these people were. Silas felt me tense up. His eyes met mine in the dark, full of questions and sudden suspicion. His grip on my waist changed. It wasn't protective anymore. It was a restraint. The intruders finally left, their footsteps fading down the hall. Victor Volkov, Silas whispered, but he didn't let me go. Russian syndicate. He wants my territory. Now he wants you. Why? My voice cracked, and this time it wasn't an act. Good question. He moved his hand from my mouth to my wrist, yanking it up between us. The hardware wallet gleamed in the low light. Almost as interesting as why you're holding a $30 million crypto key that was hidden in a spot only I know about. I didn't struggle. Struggling is just a confession. I thought it was a music player, I said, trying to keep my voice small. I just wanted to hear something other than the silence. He let out a cold, sharp laugh. Do you think I'm stupid? Before I could say a word, gunfire erupted in the east wing. Silas cursed under his breath, shoved the wallet into his pocket, and dragged me toward a panel in the wall. We have to move! Now! The panel slid open, a hidden passage. Of course he had escape routes in every room. Wait! I pulled back. My necklace! It's in the bedroom. I can't leave it. It's just jewelry. I'll buy you more. The panic in my voice was 100% real. That necklace held a transmitter. It was my only link to the world outside this mountain. It was my mother's. Please. Something flickered in his eyes. I couldn't tell if it was empathy or just more manipulation. 2 minutes, he said, checking his watch. Then we leave, with or without it. We hurried through the passage and came out in a corridor near the master suite. The shooting was louder now. I could hear shouts in Russian echoing through the halls. Stay here, Silas ordered, pulling a gun from under his jacket. If anyone comes who isn't me, use this. He pressed a small blade into my palm. If you run, I will find you. Then he vanished around the corner. I stood there frozen, the knife cold in my hand. I could run. But to what? Victor's men would kill me on sight. The agency didn't have an extraction plan for another 3 days. I heard a crash from the bedroom. Silas was cursing. Another gunshot, closer, sharper. I shouldn't care. I should want him dead. It would make my job so much easier. But I found myself moving toward the sound, knife up, heart pounding. I rounded the corner and saw Silas grappling with a massive guy, my necklace clutched in his free hand. The Russian had Silas pinned against the wall, a knife inching toward his throat. My training just took over. I moved fast and silent. The blade Silas gave me sliced right across the back of the Russian's knee. He howled, his grip slipping. Silas drove an elbow into the guy's throat, dropping him instantly. Our eyes met over the body. Blood was splattered across Silas's white shirt. My necklace was dangling from his fist. Where did you learn to do that? His voice was dangerously quiet. More gunfire. There was no time for lies, but no time for the truth either. My father had dangerous friends, I said. I learned how to protect myself. He stared at me for 3 long seconds. Then he tossed me the necklace. Put it on, we're leaving! We sprinted back to the hidden passage as the shouting got louder. They found the west exit, Silas muttered. We have to take the mountain trail. In the dark? That's suicide. I gripped the transmitter around my neck. Staying here is suicide. He pulled me into another hidden door, this one leading to a narrow staircase. Victor doesn't leave witnesses. As we headed down into the dark, I realized I wasn't pretending to be scared anymore. I was terrified, not just of the men with guns, but of the way Silas had looked at me over that body. He knew I wasn't who I said I was. And now we were trapped together on a mountain crawling with killers. Everything is on the line right now. In the real world, not everyone gets chosen. Not everyone gets noticed by someone powerful enough to actually change their life. But in these stories, she is seen. She is protected. She actually matters. If a part of you has ever wished someone would look at you that way, or if you're still hoping they will, stay. Subscribe to the channel. You belong here. The rain was lashing my face as Silas dragged me across the mountain. No path, no lights, just his hand gripping mine, hard enough to bruise, and the sound of people behind us. "Keep moving," he growled. We'd been running for 20 minutes. My wedding dress was torn and covered in mud, and my lungs were on fire. "They're still coming," I gasped, looking back at the flashlight beams cutting through the trees. "How did they find us?" Silas yanked me behind a massive rock, pressing me into the cold stone. His breathing was heavy but controlled. Professional. Just like mine. "That's what I'm wondering," he said, his voice low. "Victor shouldn't know about the passages, or my schedule, or you." His fingers tightened around my wrist, right where my pulse was giving away how scared I was. "It's almost like someone told him." I didn't. "Shut up!" He pressed closer, his mouth right against my ear. 3:00. "Don't move." I went completely still. Through the rain, I saw them. 2 armed guys moving through the trees right where we'd been. Assault rifles, night vision. This wasn't a robbery. This was a hit. "Extraction team," I whispered before I could stop myself. Silas's head snapped toward me. "What did you say?" "Stupid. They're trying to take us, to kill us." His eyes narrowed, but a burst of gunfire cut off whatever he was going to say. One of the men dropped. The other spun around, firing blindly into the woods. "What the hell?" Silas pulled me lower. More shots. A scream that got cut short. Then total silence, except for the rain. "Blackwood!" A voice called out. American accent, not Victor's guys. Silas tensed. "Stay here." He drew his gun. "If I'm not back in 3 minutes, head northeast. There's a cabin 2 miles down. Code is 5921. Then he was gone, moving through the dark like he was born in it. My transmitter felt hot against my skin. Was this the agency? An extraction I didn't know about? Or something even worse? I heard voices in the distance, Silas and someone else arguing, then silence again. 1 minute, 2. A twig snapped behind me. I spun around, the small knife Silas gave me ready. "Hello, princess." Victor Volkov was standing 10 feet away, aiming a pistol at my chest. His white suit looked perfect, even in the rain. "Your father said you were beautiful. He didn't mention you were clever." "My father?" The word burned. "He owes a lot of people." Victor smiled, showing off gold teeth. "Silas just offered the best price. I'm here to fix that." "Where is he?" I backed away. "What did you do to Silas?" Victor laughed. "Worried about your owner? How sweet. He's talking terms with my American friend, giving you back to me so his mountain doesn't get leveled." American friend? My blood turned to ice. David? My handler. "You're lying," I said, but the doubt was creeping in. Silas wouldn't trade me." "All men trade what they don't value," Victor said, walking toward me. "You're just property, girl." My back hit a tree. No more room. Victor raised his gun. "Come quietly, or I'll drag what's left of you." I heard a sound behind him, soft, almost lost in the rain. Victor started to turn. I didn't think. I just reacted. I threw the small knife. It buried itself in Victor's arm. He howled, and his gun went off into the mud. I launched myself at him, my combat training taking over. 1 strike to the throat, one to the knee. He staggered but didn't go down. He was strong. His fist caught my ribs, and I felt something crack. Pain exploded. I fell. Victor loomed over me, blood dripping from his arm, his face twisted in rage. "I'm going to enjoy breaking you." The gunshot was deafening. Victor's face went blank. He collapsed right next to me, a hole in his temple. Silas stepped out of the shadows, gun raised, his face a mask of rage. "No one touches what belongs to me," he said. But he wasn't looking at Victor. He was looking at me, at the moves I'd just used. "Get up," he ordered. "We have to move. That wasn't Victor, just a lieutenant. The real one is still coming." I struggled up, pain stabbing my side. "The American—" "Dead." Silas's eyes were empty. "He wanted to trade you. Said you were more valuable alive to certain interests." My handler. The agency had burned me. They'd sold me out. But why? Silas grabbed my arm, pulling me into the forest. "You have 30 seconds to tell me who you really are before I decide you're not worth the trouble." The rain was pounding. Blood, not mine, was all over my torn dress. My mission was dead. My agency betrayed me. My father sold me twice. I had nothing left but the truth. "I'm not who you think I am," I gasped as we ran. "I'm not just a debt." "I know that," Silas snapped. "Who sent you? Feds? A rival family? Who?" Before I could answer, the whole mountain seemed to explode. A blast tore through the trees ahead of us. The force threw us both backward. My head hit a rock, and the world started to tilt. Through the ringing in my ears, I heard Silas cursing. I felt him lifting me. "Stay with me, Elara! Damn it! Stay awake!" Darkness started closing in. The last thing I saw was Silas's face, blood dripping from a cut on his forehead, and his eyes, for the first time, looking scared. Then everything went black. The pain hit first, then the jagged pieces of memory, the rain, the muzzle flashes, the slick feeling of Victor's lieutenant's blood on my wedding dress. I opened my eyes to flickering shadows and the steady crackle of a wood fire. "Don't move!" Silas's voice came from somewhere to my left. "Your ribs are pretty banged up." "Probably cracked." I blinked, my vision finally clearing. It was a small, one-room cabin with rough timber walls. The hunting cabin he'd mentioned on the trail. My wedding dress was gone, replaced by a thick, oversized flannel shirt. Then I realized my necklace, my transmitter, was missing. "Where is it?" I tried to bolt up, panic hitting me like a physical weight. "My necklace?" "You mean your tracker?" Silas stepped into the light. He was holding the transmitter between two fingers like it was something poisonous. "Federal issue? Standard GPS with encrypted comms?" His eyes were as cold as a winter night. "Who are you really working for, Elara? Assuming that's even your name?" I couldn't catch my breath. I couldn't think of a single lie that would work. My entire world was caving in. "Give it back!" I whispered, my voice cracking. "Please!" "No, do." He closed his fist, and I heard the sickening crunch of circuits splintering. "No more lies, no more games. Tell me who you are right now, or I'm leaving you here for Victor's men to find." I stared at the ruins of the transmitter. My lifeline was dead. The agency that had already sold me out couldn't track me now, even if they wanted to. They couldn't find me. They definitely weren't coming to save me. I was completely, utterly alone. Something just snapped inside me. The dam of control, the years of training, the constant performance. It all just gave way. "My name is Elara Mitchell," I said, and for the first time in years, tears started streaming down my face. I couldn't stop them. "I'm a federal agent, financial crimes. I was sent here to nail you." The words just kept coming. I couldn't have stopped them if I tried. "My father really did owe you. The agency used that. They set up the debt seal. But they also sold my location to Victor as a backup. Insurance in case I failed." Silas just watched me, his face like stone. "You were supposed to be a monster," I said, my hands shaking uncontrollably. "A criminal. Someone who deserved to go down. You weren't supposed to protect me. You weren't supposed to come back for me on that mountain. So that's why you handled yourself so well back there," he said, his voice dangerously low. "Federal combat training." I just nodded, even though the movement sent a spike of pain through my side. "I was never afraid of you, Silas." "You should have been." He was across the room in 2 steps, his hand wrapped around my throat, not squeezing, but just there. A reminder of how easy it would be. "Give me one reason why I shouldn't end this right now." I didn't fight him. I didn't even try. I was just so tired of the war. "Because I saved your life," I said, looking him dead in the eye. "And because your empire is about to fall, and I'm the only one who knows how to stop it." He tightened his grip just a fraction. "Explain." "Victor isn't doing this alone. He's got someone on the inside, someone high up in the government. They're planning to freeze every single one of your accounts tomorrow morning. Even the ones you think are invisible." His eyes narrowed. "How do you know that?" "Because that was my job. I was supposed to verify the accounts before they pulled the trigger." I let out a bitter, shaky laugh. "But they got impatient, or they never trusted me to begin with, so they made a deal with Victor instead." Silas let go of my throat and stepped back. I could practically see his mind racing, weighing the odds, looking for the trap. "You could be lying," he said eventually. "This could just be another play." "They smashed my transmitter. They sent a hit squad to that mountain." I was shouting now, the emotion finally boiling over. "My agency burned me. My father sold me twice. I have nothing left, Silas. No mission, no backup, nothing." The tears came harder then. Years of being the professional shattered like glass. I curled into a ball, ignoring the pain in my ribs, and just broke down in front of the man I was supposed to destroy. "I don't even know whose side I'm on," I sobbed. "I don't know who I am without the badge." Silas just stood there, watching me fall apart. I expected him to laugh. I expected him to walk out. I half expected a bullet. I didn't expect him to sit on the edge of the bed and put a hand on my shoulder. "You were never nothing," he said quietly. "Not to me." I looked up through the blur. "What?" "I knew who you were the second your father brought you to me." His voice was low, almost gentle. "The posture, the way you scanned the room, the awareness. No debt payment bride has eyes like yours." My heart stopped. "You knew? The whole time?" He nodded once. "I wanted to see how far you'd go. What you'd do." His hand moved from my shoulder to my face, his thumb brushing away a tear. "I didn't expect you to save my life." "I didn't expect to want to," I whispered. For a moment, we just sat there. It wasn't trust. We were both too broken for that. But it was something real. An understanding. Then his face went hard again. If you're telling the truth, we have until sunrise to move my assets and get ready for whatever Victor does next. We? I asked, feeling small and uncertain. You've seen both sides now, Elara. The agency that threw you away, the father who sold you, Victor who would break you. He locked eyes with me. And then there's me, the monster who saved you, twice. He stood up and carefully helped me to my feet. Choose your side. Standing there in his shirt, feeling raw and exposed, I made the most dangerous choice of my life. I choose to survive, I said, with or without you. A flash of something, respect maybe, flickered in his eyes. Then let's make sure we both do. Have you ever felt completely broken? Like every part of who you are was stripped away in a single second? That raw moment when the masks fall off and you're standing exposed in front of someone who should be your enemy. If this story hits home, if you know what it's like to be betrayed or to have to choose who to trust when every option is dangerous, subscribe to the channel. This is for the shattered souls who are just looking for someone to finally see them. Dawn hit the mountain like a bruise. First purple, then a raw red, then gold. We hadn't slept a wink. Silas spent the night on a satellite phone, moving money and giving orders, getting ready for war. I just watched him, wondering if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life. They've started, he said, finally hanging up. The feds froze 6 accounts, but the main ones are safe. The Swiss ones, I murmured. The Macau Shell Corp. He turned to me, sharp. You really did know everything. Not everything. I hugged myself, my ribs throbbing with every breath. I didn't know my handler was in bed with Victor. I didn't know I was disposable. In this world, everyone is, he said, his voice bitter. Even kings! I looked at him in the morning light, the dark circles under his eyes, the tension, the blood still on his shirt. For the first time, I saw past the monster. I saw a man trapped in a world he'd built from nothing. What happened to the first Mrs. Blackwood? I asked before I could stop myself. The housekeeper mentioned her. Something dark and painful flashed across his face. Anna. Just saying the name seemed to hurt him. She was like you. A federal agent sent to take me down. He turned toward the window, his back to me. But unlike you, she never broke. She never wavered. I found out the truth too late. Did you kill her? My voice was barely a whisper. He let out a hollow, broken laugh. No, I loved her, even after I knew. So I let her go. He turned back, his eyes haunted. Victor found her 3 days later. He sent her back to me, piece by piece. My stomach turned. That's why you came for me. Why you killed that guy on the mountain. I don't make the same mistake twice, he said, his voice turning back to flint. Victor uses what you care about against you. Love is a weakness in his eyes. You don't care about me, I said, though I wasn't sure if I was trying to convince him or myself. No, he agreed. But he thinks I do. That makes you valuable and a target. The way he said it was so clinical, so cold. It hurt more than I expected it to. We need to move, he said, checking his watch. Victor's scouts will find this place by noon. Where are we going? Back to the estate, to the part they haven't found yet. He tossed me some clothes, Jeans, a sweater, boots. All my size. He'd planned for this. He'd prepared to keep a federal agent alive. I dressed slowly, every movement a struggle. When I came out, Silas was waiting with a duffel bag and a gun. "Your ribs are worse than you're letting on," he noted. "You're pale." "I'm fine." I straightened up, pushing through the pain. "You said we're going back to the house? Isn't that the first place they'll look?" "Not where we're going." He handed me the gun. "You know how to use this. Don't hesitate." The weight of it felt familiar. A Glock 19 standard issue. "How much of my life has been a lie?" I asked, staring at the weapon. "I joined the agency to help people. Now I'm helping a criminal escape federal custody." "We're both criminals now, Elara." Silas opened the door, scanning the tree line. "The only difference is, I've always known what I am." We moved through the woods in silence, sticking to the shadows. After an hour, we hit a sheer rock wall. "Dead end!" I panted, leaning against a tree. "No!" Silas pressed his hand against a specific section of the rock. A hidden door slid back, revealing a narrow tunnel. "One of many. This mountain has been in my family for a long time. We've had a century to prepare for enemies." The tunnels were cool and dark. "My family made their money in coal," Silas explained. "These connect to the main house, but they aren't on any blueprints." "That's how you vanished when they attacked," I realized. "I didn't vanish, Mike." He looked back at me. "I went looking for you." The air between us felt heavy after he said that. Neither of us knew what to do with it. Eventually, the tunnel opened into a large room filled with monitors, weapons, and supplies. A bunker. "Welcome to the heart of the mountain," Silas said. "My father called it the throne room." I sank into a chair, finally letting the exhaustion take over. "How long can we stay here?" "As long as we need to." He started tapping away at a computer terminal. "But we won't have to. Look!" The screen showed the estate. I saw men I didn't recognize moving through the ruins, setting up perimeters. "Your men?" I asked. "Allies. I called in every favor I had last night. Families from Miami, Boston, even the Tanaka Syndicate. Victor threatened more than just me. He showed he's in bed with the feds. In our world, you can't have a government dog that bites its owners." Our world. Like I was part of it now. "What happens to me when this is over?" I finally asked. "If you beat Victor, then what? Am I still property, a prisoner, or do you just kill me to clean up the mess?" Silas turned around, studying me with those obsidian eyes. "You were never property, Elara." He walked over slowly. "You started as bait. Then you were a puzzle. Now what?" My voice was shaky. "Now you're the only person who's seen the worst of me and still chose to stay." He knelt down in front of my chair so we were eye to eye. In the dim light, he looked human, almost vulnerable. "When this is over," he said softly, "you're free to go. I won't stop you. The agency thinks you're dead or compromised. You could just disappear. Start over." "Why let me go?" I looked for the catch, the lie. "Because keeping you against your will would make me exactly what they said I was." He touched my cheek, his hand feather-light. "A monster who collects broken things." Something inside me shifted. I realized I might have been wrong about everything. About him. About myself. And if I don't want to leave? The words were out before I could think. Surprise flashed in his eyes for a split second. Then that's your choice, not mine, not the agency's, yours. Choice, and I'd never really had one of those before. Suddenly, the monitors started flashing red. An alarm blared. Silas was on his feet in an instant. "They breached the south entrance," he said, his voice turning to ice. "Victor is here, and he brought an army." The war room transformed in minutes. Allies started appearing on screens, their voices echoing through encrypted channels. Silas stood at the center of it all, issuing commands with a cold, sharp precision. The vulnerable man I'd seen just moments ago vanished like smoke. I sat in the corner, almost forgotten, watching him turn into someone else. Someone harder. The king of the ridge I was originally sent to take down. "Tanaka's forces will cut off the north access," he said, his voice like steel. "Shaw's men cover the house. The victor is going to come through the east tunnel. He thinks it's a secret." He didn't look at me once. That fleeting connection we'd had, that moment of honesty, was gone the second the alarm started blaring. "And what about me?" I finally asked. "What's my part in this?" Silas glanced over, his face unreadable. "You stay here, where it's safe." "Safe," I repeated, the word tasting bitter, "or just locked away." His jaw tightened. "This isn't your fight, Elara." "It became my fight when Victor tried to put a bullet in me," I said, standing up despite the stabbing pain in my ribs. "It became mine when my handler sold me out, when you smashed my transmitter and trapped me here." Something flickered in his eyes. "You're hurt." "I'm federal. I'm trained. I know how Victor's guys move because I spent months studying them." I stepped toward him, challenging him. "Or did you forget what I am the second you needed to be a king instead of a savior?" The room went dead silent. His allies on the screens were watching, clearly curious about the woman talking to Silas Blackwood like that. "5 minutes," he said, his voice dangerously quiet. "Outside." He cut the feed. The screens went black. The second the door closed behind us in the tunnel, he turned on me with this controlled, quiet fury. "Don't ever question me in front of my people," he said. "Not if you want to survive this." "Then don't treat me like a piece of glass you need to lock in a cabinet," I shot back. "Not if you want my help beating Victor." We were standing way too close in the dim light, the anger between us feeling like a physical thing. "You think this is about my pride?" Silas's voice dropped even lower. "Victor doesn't just want me dead. He wants to destroy everything I care about. Everything I look at becomes a target." "I'm not something you care about," I said, and the words came out sharper than I meant them to. "You made that pretty clear. I'm an asset. I'm strategic." His face closed up like a vault. "Yes, that's exactly what you are." It shouldn't have hurt to hear him confirm it. That's what I wanted, right? Professional distance, but something twisted in my chest anyway. "Then use your asset," I said coldly. "Victor expects you to hide me. That makes me the perfect bait." "No." He shut it down immediately. "Why not? It's the smart move." "Because that's exactly what he wants." Silas's hands were clenched at his sides. "It's what he did with Anna. He used her as bait. He made me choose between my land and her life. And you chose her, I said softly, finally understanding. You chose her, and she died anyway. The silence that followed was deafening. I'd just touched a wound that clearly hadn't healed in years. I won't make the same mistake twice, he finally said. You're staying here. That's not your call, I replied. You said it yourself. I'm free to choose. This is my choice. His eyes met mine, something dangerous sparking in them. And if I tell my men to lock you in this bunker until it's over? I stepped even closer until I could feel his breath on my face. Then you're exactly the monster they said you were. A man who steals choices from others because he lost his own once. He flinched as if I'd slapped him. For a second, I saw fury and pain war across his face. If Victor catches you, he started. He won't, I cut him off, because unlike Anna, I never loved you. I have nothing to confess, no weakness to use. I'm just a federal agent who chose her own life over a badge. Nothing more. The lie felt like ash in my mouth, but I needed him to believe it. I needed to believe it myself. Silas studied me for a long time. Then he gave a single sharp nod. Fine. You coordinate with Shaw's team. Defense only. No jumping into the line of fire. His voice went back to being clinical and detached. But if you compromise this, if you betray me again, I won't kill you. No. I'll hand you over to your old handler myself. His eyes were like ice. A fitting end for an agent who forgot which side she was on. He turned and walked back into the war room, his shoulders rigid. I'd gotten what I wanted, a role in the fight. But as I watched him go, I wondered what I'd broken to get it. The King of the Ridge was back, and his shadow felt cold. The woman who'd almost stayed was disappearing with every breath I took. We lie to ourselves way more than we lie to anyone else. When someone sees through your armor to the truth underneath, when the words you use to push them away actually end up cutting you deeper. When you pretend not to care because caring is the most dangerous thing you could do. If you've ever built walls to protect yourself, only to realize you're trapped behind them, subscribe. This is for everyone who knows that sometimes the hardest battle isn't with your enemy. It's with your own heart. 6 hours went by in a blur of preparation. I worked with Shaw's security team, and my training actually earned me some reluctant respect. Silas stayed in the war room, only coming out to give new orders or check the perimeter. We moved like satellites in orbit, never hitting each other, never touching. Victor's guys breached the east side, I reported, walking into the war room with a tablet. 15 men, heavy gear. Silas didn't even look up from the maps on the table. Tanaka's team will handle it. They're outnumbered. They need backup. They'll hold. His voice was final, dismissive. I slammed the tablet down on the table. These are your people dying for you. Don't you care? He snapped his head up, eyes flashing. Oh, don't confuse strategy with not caring. Don't confuse power with being right, I shot back. The room went dead quiet. His lieutenants looked between us, feeling the heat. Leave us, Silas ordered, his eyes locked on mine. Once the room was empty, he straightened up, his whole body tense. You think I'm cold, he said. A king sacrificing pawns. I think you're scared, I said quietly. Not of Victor, but of making the wrong choice again. His face went hard. You don't know anything about my choices. I know you're fighting the last war. I stepped toward the map and pointed to the east tunnel. Victor expects you to defend this because it's what you did with Anna. You're so worried about repeating that mistake that you're making a brand new one. And you're the expert on Victor now? His voice was dangerously soft. I'm the only person here who studied him without an emotional history clouding my head. Something flickered in his eyes. Maybe hurt. Maybe he just knew I was right. Fine, he said at last. What would you do, Agent Mitchell? The formal title stung more than it should have. Victor doesn't want your land? Not really. I moved my finger across the map. He wants to break you. He wants to take something you can't replace. May, Silas said. I shook my head. But not by killing you. He wants to make you watch everything you've built burn to the ground. The light came on in his eyes. The fuel depot. It's the heart of everything. Destroy that and the whole Eastern Ridge goes up. Your timber, your property, your family legacy. For a second, the mask slipped. I saw the man who'd spent his whole life defending a kingdom he'd inherited. How did you know about the depot? He was suspicious again. That wasn't in your briefing. I found the manifest in your study, the night Victor attacked. I held his gaze. Before I knew what we were to each other. The silence stretched out, thin and tight. Move Shaw's men to the depot, he finally ordered, turning back to the map. Triple the guards on the access road. I should have felt like I'd won. He listened, but instead the gap between us felt even wider. Is that all I am to you now? I asked. A tactical advisor? Silas looked up slowly. What do you want to be, Elara? The honest answer was too scary, so I chose anger instead. Someone you don't treat like a traitor every time I open my mouth. Everyone is a potential traitor, he said quietly. That's how I'm still alive. Even Anna. The name was a physical blow. His eyes darkened. Especially Anna. His voice dropped. She had the best chance to destroy me because I trusted her completely. And you'll never do that again, I said, feeling a cold weight in my chest. No matter what happens, you'll never trust me. Not fully. He didn't deny it. He didn't try to make it sound better. Trust is for people who don't have to rule mountains. Before I could say anything, the door burst open. One of Shaw's men was there, blood running down his face. Sir, Victor's through. They've taken the West Wing. Silas stood up, the king coming back in full force. Casualties. 3 of ours, 6 of theirs. The man looked at me. They're looking for her. Victor's put a bounty on her head. I saw a flash of concern on Silas's face before he masked it. Get her to the panic room, he ordered. Full protocol. No. I stepped back. I'm more useful with the defense. This isn't a negotiation. It never is with you, I said, my voice full of bitterness. You talk about choice, but the second things get real, you just go back to control. His jaw tightened. Because I know what Victor will do if he gets his hands on you. You know what he did to Anna? I corrected him. A woman who loved you. Someone he could break by hurting. I'm not her, Silas. Pain flashed across his face so fast I almost missed it. No, he agreed, his voice turning cold. You're not. Those 3 words hurt more than they had any right to. I stepped back, my chest aching. I'll coordinate from the 2nd command center, I said, keeping it professional. Cold. Shaw's team knows where to find me. Silas gave a short nod, already turning away. Check in every 30 minutes. If you miss one, I'll assume you've been taken. Understood. I walked to the door, feeling the weight of his distrust like a heavy cloak. Elara! His voice stopped me. I turned, hoping for something, anything to bridge the gap. Instead, he just said, Don't engage Victor directly. No matter what you hear, no matter what he says about me. Worried I'll hear something that wasn't in my briefing? Worried you'll believe him, Silas said quietly. He's very good at destroying people's faith. I almost told him I had no faith left to destroy, that he'd already handled that with his walls and his rules. But I just nodded and left. As I walked through the tunnel, I tried to ignore that hollow feeling in my chest. I told myself this distance was better. It was safe. So why did it feel like I was losing something I never even truly had? A distant boom shook the tunnel, and dust fell from the ceiling. Victor had found another way in. The war was heating up. I moved faster, pushing thoughts of Silas aside. There was a fight to win. Survival was the only thing that mattered. It was a lie, but I swallowed it anyway. The backup command center rocked with another explosion, closer this time. Dust poured from the ceiling and the monitors started to flicker. 3 of Shaw's guys were typing like mad, while I tried to map out Victor's movements on the digital overlay. They took the fuel depot, one of the lieutenants said, his voice dropping an octave. My stomach did a slow flip. Did they blow it? No, they're just sitting on it. That felt wrong. The depot was the whole point. Unless... It's a trap, I whispered, a cold wave of fear hitting me. They want Silas to send everyone in to save it. I grabbed the comm link to warn him, but all I got was static. They were jamming us. We have to get to them, I said, grabbing my sidearm. They're walking right into an ambush. Before anyone could move, the heavy bunker door hit the wall. A guard stumbled in, clutching a bleeding shoulder. Victor's men, he coughed out. The east tunnel. A spray of gunfire cut him off. He slumped to the floor as a swarm of armed men poured into the room. Shaw's team tried to reach for their guns, but it was over in seconds. I managed to get 2 shots off, dropping one of them before a boot to my cracked rib sent me to my knees. My gun skittered across the floor, out of reach. A hand fisted in my hair and yanked my head back. I was looking straight into the eyes of a man I'd seen in a dozen federal briefings. Dmitri, Victor's right hand. The famous Fed, he mocked, his Russian accent thick. Victor is going to love this. He dragged me up by my hair. The pain in my ribs was white hot, making the room spin. As they hauled me out, I saw Shaw's men executed with single cold shots to the head. No witnesses, no mercy. They pushed me through tunnels I'd never seen deeper into the dark. I tried to count the turns and the guards, but the black spots in my vision were making it hard to stay conscious. We finally ended up in a massive chamber, a natural cave reinforced with steel and concrete. Victor Volkov was standing in the middle of it, looking perfectly clean in a white suit, while everyone else was covered in dust and blood. "Finally!" he said, his voice soft, almost like a friend's. The woman who's caused me so much grief. He walked over, looking at me like I was a piece of art he was thinking of buying. Unlike the guy I fought on the mountain, this was the real Victor. He was older and smaller, but he had a coldness that made my skin crawl. "Where is Blackwood?" he asked. I didn't say a word. Victor sighed, looking disappointed. "Always the same with you government types. So committed to the training." He turned to Dimitri. "Is the feed ready?" "Yes, sir. We're in his security system. He'll see everything." My heart stopped. I realized what they were doing. History was repeating itself. Anna all over again. Victor saw the look on my face and smiled. "You know about her, don't you? His first love, his big weakness." He leaned in, whispering in my ear. "Did he tell you how she begged at the end? How she screamed his name?" I spat right in his face. The hit came instantly. A ring cut my cheek open. I tasted blood, but I didn't make a sound. "Brave," Victor said, calmly wiping his face. "Just like she was. But everyone breaks, my dear. You just have to find the right spot." He looked at my side, noticing how shallow my breathing was. "And I think we found yours." He gave Dimitri a nod, and a fist slammed right into my broken ribs. Pain exploded behind my eyes. My knees gave out, but they held me up by my arms. "Start the broadcast," Victor ordered. A camera was pointed right at me. The red light started blinking. Somewhere in this mountain, Silas was watching this. "Silas Blackwood," Victor said to the lens. "As you can see, history loves a repeat performance. I have something you want, something you failed to protect." He put a hand on my shoulder. "What will you give up to save her this time?" "He won't come," I croaked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm not Anna. I'm nothing to him." Victor laughed softly. "My dear, if you believe that, you don't understand men like him at all." He leaned closer. "They don't collect beautiful things because they want to own them. They do it because they can't stand to see them broken." He pulled out a knife. The blade was wicked and bright. "And you are about to be very, very broken." The first cut was small, just across my collarbone. I felt the warm blood start to soak into the flannel shirt. I didn't flinch. "You have 1 hour, Blackwood," Victor told the camera. "Come to the old mining shaft, alone. Trade yourself for her, and I let her walk. Refuse, and I'll send her back to you piece by piece, just like last time." The light went out. The broadcast was over. Victor stepped back, watching me. "Now we wait," he said, "and see what you're really worth to the king." Minutes ticked by. No response, no rescue, just silence. A weird mix of relief and a dull ache hit me. Silas wasn't coming. He was being smart, strategic. He wasn't going to fall for the same trick twice. So why did it feel like my heart was being ripped out? Victor checked his watch, looking annoyed. "Maybe you were right," he mused. "Maybe you really are nothing to him." It shouldn't have hurt. I'd told Silas the same thing. I wasn't Anna. I didn't love him. There was nothing to use against him. Lies. All of it. Something was breaking inside me, and it wasn't from the knife. It was the truth I couldn't hide from anymore. Somewhere between the mission and the mountain, I'd started to care. I'd started to see the man, not the monster. I wanted things I had no right to want. And now it was too late. "Last chance, Blackwood!" Victor shouted at the empty air. He pressed the knife to my throat. "Show yourself, or she dies right now!" Nothing. Just the heavy final silence of the cave. Victor's face went dark. "Fine!" I closed my eyes. I felt strangely calm. At least I wouldn't be used to hurt him. At least he'd survive. It had to be enough. Then the wall exploded. The far side of the cave caved in with a roar. Dust choked the air. Gunfire started popping off, muzzle flashes lighting up the haze. Victor's grip tightened, the knife digging in. "Don't move!" he hissed. Through the dust, figures appeared. They weren't Silas's men. They were federal tactical teams, black gear, government guns. In the middle of them was David Cross, my handler. "Federal agents! Drop the weapons!" he yelled. Victor's men froze, completely caught off guard. "Let her go, Volkov!" David ordered, his gun aimed at Victor's head. "She belongs to us!" Victor laughed, actually looking amused. "She belongs to no one, it seems." He kept the knife at my throat. "The government dogs turning on their Russian friends. How poetic." "There was never an alliance," David said coldly. "Just a common interest, which you just ruined." I finally got it. The agency hadn't sold me to Victor. They'd used Victor to smoke out Silas, planning to take down both at once. And I was still just a piece on the board. "Take her," Victor said suddenly, shoving me toward them. "She's been nothing but trouble anyway." I stumbled toward the feds, my legs barely holding me up. David grabbed my arm. His grip was cold. "Agent Mitchell, extraction complete. Let's go." But I didn't move. "Where's Silas?" I asked. David's face went hard. "Blackwood isn't your problem anymore. The job is over." "Did you get him? Is he in custody?" "We have teams in the tunnels. He won't get away." Relief flooded me because David didn't have him yet. Then I felt sick because of how relieved I was. "You used me," I said, the betrayal stinging more than the cuts. "You never told me about Victor. You never told me the real plan." "You had a mission," David said, zero remorse in his voice. "And it's done. Time to go home, Elara." Home? That word felt like a joke. Home to the agency that lied to me, to the father who sold me, to an empty apartment I didn't care about. In that moment, everything I'd been holding back, the anger, the fear, the confusion, just crashed into me. I realized that the thought of never seeing Silas again was a physical pain in my chest. "I can't," I whispered. David's eyes darkened. "That wasn't a question, Agent. That's an order." I looked at the tunnel behind him where more agents were coming in. Hunting Silas? The man who knew exactly who I was and saved me anyway. The man who actually gave me a choice. The man whose scars felt just like mine. In that second, I knew. "I'm sorry," I said to David. Then I slammed my elbow into his throat, snatched his gun, and ran. Not toward the exit, not toward safety. I ran deeper into the mountain, back into Blackwood territory, toward the one person who never promised me anything but gave me the freedom to choose for myself, even if that choice cost me everything. Have you ever hit that point where everything you thought was true just shatters? When the walls you built to stay safe suddenly feel like they're trapping you in? When you realize the person you are fighting isn't the enemy, they're the only one who really sees you. If your heart knows that terrifying feeling of choosing someone even when every reason says not to, subscribe to the channel. This is for everyone brave enough to run toward what scares them. My heart was pounding in my ears as I sprinted through the dark, David's gun heavy in my hand. My training was on autopilot. Stay low, move fast. But this wasn't a mission. It was a desperate primal need to find Silas before they did. Shouts echoed behind me. David's team was coming. Ahead, there was nothing but shadows and flickering emergency lights. My ribs felt like they were being stabbed with every step, and the cut on my neck was stinging like crazy. I took a sharp left, then a right, running blind through tunnels I didn't know. Suddenly, a hand shot out of a dark alcove, covering my mouth and yanking me back. I fought like a cornered animal until a voice hissed in my ear. "Stop it! It's me!" "Silas!" He let me go slowly. In the dim light, I could see the soot and blood on his face. He looked at me with a mix of relief and total shock. "You got away," he whispered. "How?" "A tactical team, my handler. They came for Victor, and they're coming for you." His face went cold. "And you led them right to me." "No," I said it so hard it surprised me. "I ran from them to warn you." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "They're sweeping the tunnels. We have to go." He still looked suspicious. "We." That one word was the only question that mattered. The last time we spoke, I told him I wasn't Anna. I told him I didn't love him. And now I'd just assaulted my boss and run back into a war zone for him. "Yes," I said. "We..." The mask he wears, the one that makes him a king, finally cracked. "Why?" he asked, his voice raw. "Why come back? You could have had your old life back." "What life?" I let out a shaky, hysterical laugh. "The agency used me just like my father did, just like everyone else." I looked him right in the eyes. "Everyone but you!" He searched my face, looking for the catch. "You gave me a choice," I said, my voice breaking, "when nobody else ever did. This is it. This is my choice." For a second, the world just stopped. Then Silas reached out and touched my cheek, right where Victor had hit me. His touch was so gentle it made my chest ache. "You're bleeding," he said softly. "I'm okay." But I wasn't. Everything was too much. Shouts echoed from down the hall. They were getting closer. Silas dropped his hand. The moment was over. "We have to move. There's an exit on the North Ridge. If we can get there." "What about your men?" "They have their own exits. You're the priority now." "Because I'm an asset?" I couldn't help the bitterness. "Because you came back," he said simply. The weight of that statement hit me hard. A loud boom shook the tunnel. They were blasting through the blockades. "Come on!" Silas grabbed my hand and pulled me into the maze. He knew these tunnels like the back of his hand. 10 minutes later, we were in a room I'd never seen. A small, high-tech emergency bunker. "Wait here!" Silas ordered, heading for a computer. I collapsed into a chair, the adrenaline finally wearing off, and the pain taking its place. Well, my ribs felt like they were made of broken glass. Silas was typing away, checking feeds and setting false trails to buy us time. "Time for what?" I asked. to get you off this mountain. I sat up, ignoring the pain. What about you? I'm staying. This is my home. I don't run from it. That's suicide. They have you surrounded. You can't. I can and I will. He finally looked at me, his face set. But you don't have to. I felt a cold chill. You're sending me away. I'm giving you what I promised. Freedom. A life. I don't want that life, I said, the truth finally coming out. I stopped. I couldn't say it. Silas walked over and stood right in front of me. He looked exhausted. He looked like his world was falling apart. You want what, Elara? I want to stay, I whispered. He closed his eyes for a second. You don't know what you're asking for. I do, I insisted, standing up to face him. I've seen both sides, the feds who used me and the man they called a monster. My voice got stronger. I've made my choice. A choice made when you're scared isn't a choice, Silas said. It's just another cage. Then why did you come back for me? I demanded. When Victor had me on camera, you could have let me die. That was the smart play. His control finally snapped. Because I couldn't, he yelled, the emotion finally breaking through. I couldn't watch you die for my mistakes. Not like Anna, not again. I'm not Anna, I said, and this time the words meant something different. No, he leaned in closer. You're way more dangerous than she was. What am I? Silas didn't pull back. He didn't hide behind his walls. The one who came back, he said. The one who chose this mess, when she could have walked away. He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. The one I can't let go of, even though I know I should. The air between us changed. I leaned into him, closing my eyes as he traced my jawline. What happens now? I whispered. Now we survive, he said. Together. It felt like a vow. Suddenly, the bunker's alarm started screaming. Silas turned back to the screen. They found us! Feds in the northeast tunnel! 2 minutes away! I felt a surge of fear, but it was for him, not me. We have to go, now! Silas shook his head. No time! They've got the north exit blocked! He looked at me, his mind made up. I'll surrender. I'll distract them. You take the maintenance shaft behind the locker. It goes to the surface. No, I'm not leaving you. Elara, this isn't a debate. You're right, it isn't. I stepped in close. I didn't come back to watch you give up. We both get out, or neither of us does. He looked at me with a mix of frustration and wonder. You're so stubborn. Look who's talking, I said. He actually gave me a tiny ghost of a smile. It's like looking in a mirror. The alarm blared again. 1 minute. There's one more way, Silas said. But it's risky. It's dangerous. Tell me. He opened a panel on the wall and punched in a code. A hidden door slid open to a dark, narrow shaft. The old mining shaft. It goes down to an underground river that lets out 5 miles south. It's a brutal climb. If we fall, I corrected him. He looked at me and we just knew. He accepted it. You first, he said. I'll seal it behind us. I went to the shaft, but before I could step in, Silas caught my arm. Elara? His voice was different. No king, just a man, If we don't make it... I didn't think about it. I didn't analyze. I just acted on everything I'd been feeling since he first put that ring to my jaw. I kissed him. It wasn't soft. It was desperate and full of everything we couldn't say. His arms wrapped around me, careful of my ribs, but holding me like he'd never let go. When we finally pulled apart, both of us breathless, I saw it, the vulnerability, the hope. "Now we go," I whispered. A crash came from the outer tunnel. They were here. We slipped into the shaft together and Silas sealed the door. Total darkness except for one tiny flashlight beam. Above us, I could hear the agents shouting as they found the empty room. Below us, there was nothing but the unknown. Silas took my hand. His grip was like iron. "Together," he said. This time, it wasn't a question. It was a promise. I squeezed his hand back, and we started our way down, leaving the mountain and our old lives behind. Whatever was at the bottom, we'd face it the only way we knew how now. Together. The roar of the underground river was deafening. Black water slamming against ancient stone. We'd survived the climb down. A brutal descent on rusted rungs that felt like they were going to snap off the slick rock at any second. Only to end up on a tiny ledge above a current strong enough to crush us. "We follow it downstream!" Silas yelled over the noise. His flashlight beam was the only thing cutting through a darkness that felt as thick as tar. "This leads to an outlet cave. Maybe 2 miles. Every part of me was screaming. My ribs throbbed, the cut on my neck burned, and my legs were shaking so hard I wasn't sure they'd hold. But we pushed on. Behind us, the Feds and Victor's men were closing in. In front of us, nothing but the unknown. After an hour, the tunnel opened up and the ledge got a bit wider. The water wasn't as loud here. "We should rest," Silas said. His voice sounded flat, almost mechanical. "You're hurt." I slumped onto a dry rock, exhausted. In the harsh light of the flash, Silas looked all sharp edges and shadows, but something was off. The connection we'd felt in the bunker, that desperate kiss, it felt like it had vanished. He was back to being the efficient, clinical man I'd first met. The man who looked at me like property, not a person. "How did you know about this?" I asked. "You said these mines haven't been used since your grandfather's time?" Silas didn't look up. He was busy checking something in his pocket. "Family history. All Blackwoods know the way out." "Even the ways that haven't been touched in 40 years? I pushed. "This tunnel wasn't on any of the maps in your war room." He finally looked at me, his face unreadable. "Are you questioning me again, Agent Mitchell?" "Agent Mitchell, not Elara." The formality stung more than the injuries. "No," I said slowly. "Just trying to understand." He gave a short nod and turned away. "We move in 5. I watched him pace. He moved so confidently in the dark, like he'd been here before, recently. A cold feeling started to settle in my stomach. This wasn't just him being overwhelmed or focused on survival. This was calculated. As we kept going, I started noticing things. The path got wider in places where it should have been narrow from erosion. There were metal handholds right where the ledge got dangerous. Someone had been maintaining this. "Right fork ahead," Silas said about 30 minutes later. "How do you know the current is stronger to the left?" He hesitated, just a split second too long. Trust me, right goes out, left is a dead end. Trust me. Those words felt heavy with doubt. We took the right. The tunnel narrowed and then opened into a massive chamber. Silas pointed the light up, but the ceiling was lost in the dark. "We wait here," he announced. "The exit is close, but we need to wait for nightfall." I sat back against the wall as he pulled supplies from his jacket. Energy bars, water, a medical kit. He was prepared. Way too prepared for an improvised escape. "Let me see those wounds," he said, kneeling next to me. His hands were gentle as he cleaned the cut on my neck. But his face was a mask. Professional, impersonal. Nothing like the man who'd held me hours ago. "Your ribs need a real doctor," he said clinically. "I know someone in Asheville who won't ask questions." "Asheville? That's where we're going?" He looked at me, then looked away. "It's safe for now." "And then we split up," he said, his voice completely neutral. "I've arranged a new identity for you. Head west. I'll deal with what's left of Victor's crew and rebuild." The words hit me like a physical punch. Split up? After everything? "It's the smart move," he replied, packing the kit away with robotic precision. "Together, we're a target. Apart, we survive." "That's not what you said in the bunker," I snapped, the anger finally burning through the exhaustion. "Together," you said. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a promise. I said what I had to say to get us out alive. He still wouldn't look at me. Survival takes logic, not emotion. My stomach dropped. "You're lying!" He looked up then, his face hardening. "About what?" "I don't know yet, but something is wrong. You're different. This exit is too convenient. This plan was ready way too fast." Silas stood up abruptly, putting space between us. "You're tired. You're in pain. You're being paranoid." "Am I?" I forced myself up, ignoring the flare of pain in my side. "Or am I finally seeing the truth? The kiss, the vulnerability? Was that just tactical? Did you just do that to make sure I'd follow you down here?" "Don't be ridiculous," he snapped, but I heard the tension in his voice. "Then explain this!" I gestured to the room. "A forgotten mine that you know like the back of your hand. Supplies ready for an escape, you said, was a last resort. A new life for me already mapped out." Silas's jaw tightened. "I plan for everything, always." "Including me turning on the feds? Running to warn you?" I stepped closer, searching his eyes. "You planned for that specific thing?" He didn't say a word. The silence was an admission. "How long?" I demanded. "How long have you been planning to send me away?" "Since the second I knew who you were," he finally said. "Since the day you set foot on my mountain." The betrayal hurt more than it should have. I'd come to him as an enemy, after all. But this felt deep. It felt personal. "So everything in the bunker?" I said, my voice hollow. "The connection? It was just a play." "Not everything," Silas said, and I saw a flicker of something in his eyes. "Not the kiss, but everything else." I let out a bitter laugh. "You never intended for us to stay together. You were always going to get rid of me." "Oh, to protect you," he yelled, his control finally slipping. "Victor won't stop. The government won't stop. If you're with me, you're a target." "That is not your choice to make," I yelled back. "You promised me a choice, But you're still pulling all the strings. You're still deciding what's best for me without even asking. Because I know what happens, he shouted. I've seen it. With Anna, I said quietly. Yes. The word was raw. She died because of me, because I was selfish enough to keep her close. I shook my head. She died because of Victor, not because of you. Same result, he said bitterly. Dead is dead. We stood there, the sound of the river echoing around us. The space between us felt miles wide. So what now? I asked. We follow your plan? Go to Asheville? And pretend this never happened? I saw a crack in his armor. It's the only way, he said, but he sounded less sure now. It's the only way you live. And if I say no? If I don't want your perfect escape plan? Silas stepped in close. So close I could see the war going on in his head. Then you're a fool. Maybe I am, I whispered. Maybe we both are. For a second, I thought he was going to kiss me again, that he'd finally give in, but he stepped back. The walls went right back up. Rest, he ordered. We move at midnight. He turned his back on me, ending it. I sat back down, watching him. The distance felt deliberate, strategic, like everything else he did. But I'd seen the crack. I'd seen the emotion. I wondered if I could trust that tiny glimpse of the real him, or if even that was just part of a bigger game. As I finally drifted into a shaky sleep, I wondered if I'd made the biggest mistake of my life running toward him. I wondered if the connection I felt was real, or just the result of being terrified together. I wondered if every choice I'd ever made was just an illusion controlled by someone else. When trust has been broken over and over again, when the person who finally seemed to see you starts feeling like just another person trying to control you, when you've risked everything for someone who might still be playing a game, if you've ever wondered if you're confusing a real connection with a well-timed manipulation. Subscribe! This is for the brave souls trying to figure out where the real emotion ends and the control begins. I woke up to Silas's hand on my shoulder. His touch was cold and efficient. Time to go, he said, already walking away. I stood up, feeling every single injury. Sleep hadn't helped. It just made the questions in my head louder. The exit was closer than I thought. After 20 minutes, the tunnel started to go up, and the sound of the river faded. I could smell the pine trees and the fresh night air. We're near the edge of my land, Silas explained. There's a car waiting 2 miles east. It'll take us to Asheville. A car just happens to be there. I couldn't help it. Another contingency? He stiffened. Yes. Who else knows about this? About the plan? No one who matters. We kept climbing until the tunnel ended in a small cave hidden by thick brush. Outside, the stars were huge in the dark sky. Stay here, Silas ordered, looking out into the woods. I need to make sure we're clear. I'm coming with you, I said. I didn't trust him out of my sight anymore. He frowned. This isn't a debate. You're right, I agreed, looking him in the eye. Either we go together, or you're on your own. I saw a flash of frustration, but also a little bit of respect. He nodded. Stay close, don't make a sound. The air was freezing after the warmth of the tunnel. Silas moved like a shadow, silent and perfect, I followed him, my training making me almost as quiet. 20 minutes later, we hit an old dirt road. Silas stopped and checked his watch. "It should be here," he muttered. "What should?" Headlights answered me. A black SUV with tinted windows was rolling slowly down the road. My heart started pounding. "Who is that?" "I'll ride," Silas said, but he sounded tense. The SUV stopped and a man stepped out. He was tall and carrying a rifle. I reached for my gun, but Silas grabbed my wrist. "Don't," he whispered. "They aren't here for you." The way he said it made my blood run cold. "What does that mean? Who are they here for?" Silas didn't answer. He just stepped into the light and gave a signal. The man with the rifle signaled back. "Silas!" I hissed. "What is going on?" He turned to me, his face half hidden by the shadows. A necessary complication. 3 more armed men got out of the SUV, spreading out around us. "Mr. Blackwood," the leader said. His accent was Eastern European, but not Russian. "You're late." "Delays?" Silas said coolly. "Is everything ready?" "As we agreed." He pointed to the car. "Your papers, your money, your new identity." Identity. Singular. Not plural. It hit me like a brick. This wasn't our escape. It was his. "You're leaving," I said. I could barely hear my own voice. "Without me." Silas didn't deny it. He wouldn't even look at me. "And the other thing?" he asked the man. "Done. Victor's crew is a mess. The feds are still lost on the mountain. By tomorrow, you'll be a ghost." I backed away, my hand on my gun. "This was the plan all along. Get me out, then disappear." Silas finally looked at me. I saw a flash of regret. "It's the only way we both survive." "By dumping me in the middle of nowhere with nothing." The fury and the hurt were making it hard to breathe. "After everything." "Not dumping you," he corrected. "Setting you free." "Bullshit," I spat, drawing my gun. "This is a betrayal." The armed men tensed up, but Silas waved them off. "You have 2 choices," he said, his voice calm. "Come with us to the next town. Take the money and the papers I got for you. Enough to start over anywhere. Or go back to the feds. Tell them I kidnapped you and forced you to help me." "Those aren't choices," I said, my voice shaking. "Those are just different ways of abandoning me." "It's the only way you don't end up dead," he yelled, his cool finally breaking. "Victor will hunt anyone near me. The agency will never trust you again. You have to disappear away from me." "That's just your fear," I said. "But your guilt about Anna. You just want to control everything, even the people you say you care about." His face went hard again. "It's reality. Cold and practical." "Is it?" I challenged him. "Or is it just easier than admitting you actually care about someone you can't control?" The armed men were starting to look uncomfortable. "Mr. Blackwood," the leader said, "we have to go." Silas nodded, his eyes on me. "Get in the car, Elara." "No," I kept my gun up. "Not until you tell me the truth. All of it." "What truth?" "Did you know the feds were coming?" I demanded. "Did you plan for them to find Victor so you could have the chaos you needed to vanish?" He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. "How long have you been planning to disappear?" I asked. Since before I got here. Before Anna? Since the day I took over the mountain, he admitted. Every king needs a way out. And every king uses pawns to get there, I said bitterly, including me. You were never a pawn, he said, and for a second he sounded like he meant it. Then what are you doing? Leaving me here? Disappearing to your easy new life while I take the fall? The leader shifted his feet. Mr. Blackwood, the clock is ticking. Silas ignored him. There's money in the car, a new name, everything you need. Except you, I said. I couldn't help it. Something flickered in his eyes. It's better this way. For who? For you? So you can run away from whatever this is between us. So you can tell yourself you're protecting me because you're too scared to stay? I am not scared, he said, way too fast. Prove it! I lowered my gun. Take me with you, not to some town, not to start some separate life. With you, wherever you're going. The armed men looked at each other, clearly not liking this. That wasn't the plan, Silas said, but he sounded unsure. Plans change. I stepped in close. You said I had a choice. This is it. I choose you. Not safety, not a new name. You. For a second, I thought I'd actually gotten through. I saw the wall start to crumble. Then a radio crackled. Feds coming from the south. 5 minutes out. The moment was gone. Silas's face went cold again. Get her in the car, he ordered. Now! Before I could move, 2 of the men grabbed me. I fought, but I was too weak. Silas, don't do this! I yelled as they dragged me away. This isn't protection. It's cowardice. He didn't answer. He didn't even look back. They shoved me into the SUV, and the locks clicked shut. I watched through the glass as Silas talked to the leader. The other men vanished into the woods to set up an ambush. They were going to hit the feds to cover our tracks. I looked around the car, desperate for a way out. On the seat was an envelope. My freedom. I ignored it and looked in the briefcase under it. It wasn't locked. Inside was cash, a passport, and a small object that made my heart stop. It was Anna's wedding ring. I knew it from the photo in his study. Why would he have this? Why would he bring it? The door opened and Silas slid in next to me. Change of plans, he said. Feds are too close. We have to move. I held up the ring. Were you ever going to tell me? He stared at the diamond, his face twisting with pain. Where did you get that? In your briefcase, I said, along with enough money to vanish forever, and a passport with your face, but a different name. I looked at him. That's a lot of stuff to bring if you were really planning on leaving me behind. Silas's jaw tightened. Put it back. Not until you tell me the real truth. Outside, I could hear the feds getting closer. There was never a plan to split up, was there? I said. That was the lie. The plan was for both of us to vanish, together. He didn't deny it. Why lie about it? I asked. Why push me away if you were taking me anyway? Because I had to know, he said, his voice low. I had to be sure. Of what? That you would choose to stay, he said, even when I gave you every reason to leave. The truth hit me. Another test. Another game. Not a game, he said, and he sounded desperate now. A necessity. Everyone has either betrayed me or been taken. I had to know which one you were before I risked everything. So you manipulated me again. The hurt was sharp. You made me think you were leaving just to see how I'd act. To see if you really wanted to stay, he said. Or if you were just desperate. Gunfire started outside. The feds were here. We have to go. Silas reached for the ring, but I closed my hand around it. No more tests, I said. No more games. No more control. Elara! Either you trust me for real, or we're done, I told him. I won't be another Anna. I'm not a prize to protect, or a weapon to fear. I want to be a partner. Equal. The shooting got louder. Headlights were swinging through the trees. We don't have time for this, Silas said, the tension about to snap him in half. Then make the choice, I challenged him. The real one. What do you want, Silas? Not the king, not the strategist. You. He was perfectly still for a second. Then he reached out and touched my face. His hand was trembling. I want you, he said. God help us both. The driver hopped in. Time to go, boss. Silas looked at me, the question in his eyes. I opened my hand and showed him the ring. This isn't mine, I said quietly, and I don't want it. I want something new, something that belongs to us. He took the ring and looked at it before putting it in his pocket. A new start, he agreed. If we make it through the night. The SUV roared to life and we sped away into the dark. Through the back window, I could see the flashes of gunfire as the men we left behind fought the feds. More pawns. The thought should have bothered me more. It should have made me run. But as we drove away from that mountain, I realized we were past all that. We were just two broken people who found something in each other worth fighting for. Whether that makes us survivors or monsters, I guess we'll find out. The only thing I know for sure is that whatever happens next, we face it together. Not because we have to, but because we finally made a choice that was actually ours. Even if it's the last choice we ever make. Dawn showed up as a sickly grey light leaking through the pines. We ditched the SUV hours ago after spotting a police checkpoint on the highway. Trading speed for stealth. Now we were trekking through thick forest, every step taking us further from the mountain, but not a bit closer to being safe. Silas walked ahead, checking his phone every few minutes for the signal that would confirm our extraction team had found a new ride. I followed, my legs feeling like lead. We hadn't said much since leaving the car. Too many truths had been dropped. Too many old wounds ripped open. They should have checked in by now, Silas muttered, staring at his screen. No signal, no messages. A cold stone settled in my stomach. The perfect plan was falling apart. Is it possible they've been compromised? I asked. Maybe. His face went hard. But not likely. These guys aren't on any government radar. What about Victor's radar? The question just hung there. Silas didn't answer, but he didn't have to. We kept moving, the trees thinning out as we hit an old, overgrown logging road. Silas held up a hand, telling me to stay put while he scouted. As I waited, I noticed how pale he looked in the morning light. Exhaustion had carved deep lines around his eyes, and he was moving with a stiffness I hadn't seen before. The invincible king of the ridge was finally showing some cracks. He came back a few minutes later, looking grim. Road's clear, but there are fresh tire tracks. Someone was through here recently. Feds? Hard to say. He pointed forward. We follow the road, but stay in the trees. There's a hunting cabin 2 miles up. We can regroup there and try to make contact again. We walked in a tense silence, jumping at every snap of a twig. The birds went quiet as we passed, like the forest was holding its breath. An hour later, the cabin appeared, a weathered little shack half hidden by massive pines. Silas approached with his gun drawn. Wait here, he ordered, moving like a shadow. I watched him circle the place, checking the windows and testing the door. Finally, he waved me over. Inside, it was just one room. A table, 2 chairs, a stove, and a narrow cot. Everything was covered in dust, but it was dry, and more importantly, it was a hiding spot. We'll rest here, Silas said, locking the door. Try the radio again at noon. I slumped into a chair, my muscles literally shaking now that I'd finally stopped. Silas stayed on his feet, checking his phone one last time before tossing it on the table with a frustrated sigh. Something's wrong, I said. It wasn't a guess. This isn't going the way you planned. He looked at me, and for a second, I saw something vulnerable behind that mask of control. No, it's not. Talk to me. He hesitated, then sat down across from me, finally looking as tired as he felt. The team should have had a car ready by now. They know these woods. If they haven't checked in, it means they've either been caught or they flipped, I finished. Silas nodded, his jaw tight. Victor's got deep pockets. Money usually beats loyalty. So what do we do? I tried to keep the shake out of my voice. We wait. If we don't hear anything by noon, we go on foot to the nearest town. It's a huge risk, but we're out of moves. The reality hit me hard. The plan was dead, and so was the future Silas had mapped out. The future we were supposed to have together. Get some sleep, Silas said, standing back up. I'll watch the door. You need sleep too, I argued, looking at the dark circles under his eyes. A tiny ghost of a smile touched his lips. I've stayed up longer. Doesn't mean you should, I shot back. We both need to be sharp later. He thought about it, then gave in. 2 hours, then we swap. I lay down on the cot, every bone in my body aching. Even though I was dead tired, sleep felt like a trap. Silas sat by the window, his gun resting on his knee, eyes scanning the trees. Thank you, I whispered. He turned, looking confused. For trusting me, I said. For actually making a choice that wasn't just about strategy. His gaze softened, a look I'd only seen a few times before. Sleep, Elara, he said softly. While you can. I closed my eyes and went under, but right before I drifted off, I think I heard him whisper, I'm sorry. The dreams were a mess. Victor's knife, David's face when I ran, the tunnels caving in. I saw Silas walking away into the dark while I screamed his name. I jerked awake, my heart pounding against my ribs. The cabin was quiet. Too quiet. I sat up, totally alert. The chair by the window was empty. Silas was gone. Silas! I whispered. Nothing. His phone was still on the table, but his gun was gone. I went to the window. Nothing moved but the trees. Fear, cold and sharp, hit me, It was 3:17 p.m. We'd both overslept. Or he'd let me sleep while he... What? Went to meet the team? Left me? I knew he wouldn't just leave, not after the SUV, not unless something happened. I eased the door open and looked out. The clearing was empty. Silas! I called louder. Then I saw a flash of dark clothes in the trees. I reached for my gun. Elara! His voice came from behind the cabin. I felt a wave of relief until I saw his face. Get inside! Now! I didn't ask questions. He followed me in and locked the door behind us, moving fast. What happened? I asked, seeing the blood on his sleeve. You're hit. It's not mine. His voice was ice cold. The king of the ridge was back. Victor's men, a half a mile east. They found the car. How many? I saw 6, probably more. He peered out the window. They're sweeping the area in a grid. They're being thorough. The team? His jaw clenched. Dead! I found Martinez by the road. They didn't even have time to warn us. The weight of it settled in. We were trapped, surrounded, and out of luck. We have to move, Silas said, checking his clip. They'll find this place within the hour. Where to? You said they're in a grid. There's a ravine to the west. It's steep and dangerous. They'll check it last, if they check it at all. He looked at me, and I saw regret in his eyes. It's a bad path, but it's the only one we've got. I nodded and grabbed our stuff. How far to town? 15 miles, maybe more. He paused. We might not make it before dark. We both knew what that meant. In the dark, with hunters behind us, our odds were basically 0. Then we move fast, I said. He looked at me, almost surprised. You really are something else. Good, I said. Ready? He nodded and went for the door. But right as his hand hit the latch, we heard it, the crunch of boots on dry leaves. Someone was right outside. Silas signaled me to the corner and stood by the door, gun up. The footsteps stopped. Then a voice called out, thick with a Russian accent. We know you're in there, Blackwood. We have the place surrounded. Come out now, and maybe Victor will be nice. Silas didn't say a word. He looked at me and I saw something that made my blood freeze. It wasn't fear. It was resignation. He knew we were out of exits. 30 seconds, Blackwood. Then we start shooting. Back window, Silas mouthed, pointing. I shook my head. The woods back there were too open. We'd be dead before we hit the trees. 20 seconds! Silas crossed the room in 3 steps. He looked desperate. Listen to me. When they come in, I'll draw them off. You jump out the back and run for the ravine. Don't stop. Don't look back. No, I hissed. We stay together. This isn't a debate, he whispered fiercely. This is your only chance. Our chance, I corrected. 10 seconds. Silas's mask finally broke. I can't watch you die, he said, and his voice was raw. Not like Anna, not because of me. And I'm not leaving you, I said, grabbing his arm. Don't ask me to. 5 seconds! Everything went into slow motion. I saw Silas's brain working, the strategist fighting the man who just wanted to save what he loved. Please, he whispered. I'd never heard him say that word. Then the world exploded. The door shattered and armed men flooded the room. Silas shoved me toward the window, using his body as a shield as the room filled with gunfire. I felt the impact before I heard the shot. Silas's body jerked against mine. He let out a grunt of pain. Then we were falling, crashing through the glass, in a mess of limbs. We hit the ground hard. I rolled away, my ears ringing. When I looked up, Silas was already up, pulling me toward the tree line, even though there was a huge red stain spreading across his shirt. "Run!" he yelled, firing back at the cabin as more men poured out. We sprinted, bullets ripping through the leaves around us. Silas stayed behind me, covering me, his breathing getting heavy and ragged. "The ravine!" he wheezed, pointing right. 200 yards! I dove through the brush, branches stinging my face. I could hear them right behind us, their shouts getting louder. We burst out of the trees at the edge of the drop. Below us was a rocky stream bed with steep walls. It was a hell of a drop, but it was all we had. "Go!" Silas gasped, turning to face the hunters. "I'll hold them!" "No!" I grabbed him. I saw the blood soaking his whole left side. He was pale as a ghost. "You're coming with me!" I saw it in his eyes then, a terrible kind of resolve. "There's no time," he said. He sounded so steady. "They're too close. One of us has to stay." "Then we both stay," I said, raising my gun. Elara, the way he said my name, it was almost a prayer. For once, just do what I say. Before I could breathe, he kissed me. Hard, desperate, a goodbye in a single second. Then he shoved me. Hard. I went over the edge, sliding down the dirt and rocks in a landslide, unable to stop myself. Above me, the gunfire turned into a deafening roar. "Silas!" I screamed, clawing at the dirt to get back up. No answer, just more shots, and then a horrible empty silence. I hit the bottom, bleeding and terrified. I looked up and saw figures against the sky. Victor's men. But no Silas. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." A shot hit the rock near my feet. They saw me. Survival kicked in. I ran, following the stream, staying close to the walls. Shouts and shots followed me, but they got quieter as I put distance between us. I ran until my legs gave out. I ran until my lungs felt like they were on fire. When the silence finally took over and it started to get dark, I collapsed behind a fallen tree. He was gone. He died to save me. After all the games and the tests, he made a final choice I couldn't undo. The pain in my chest was worse than any of my injuries. It felt like I'd been hollowed out. I sat there in the dark, crying silently. In the distance, a wolf howled, the loneliest sound I'd ever heard. Silas Blackwood was gone, and I was alone in the woods with his blood on my hands and his kiss still burning on my lips. Have you ever felt something precious slip through your fingers, no matter how hard you held on? When the person who finally saw you, who finally chose you, gives up everything for you, when the moment you realize what they mean to you is the moment they're gone. If you've ever lost the person who changed you forever, subscribe. This is for everyone who knows the pain of finding and losing your other half in the same heartbeat. Night in the woods is heavy. It felt like I was drowning in the dark. I huddled under a giant oak tree, shaking, every little noise sounding like a gunshot. I didn't dare start a fire. I didn't even dare move. Silas was gone. That thought hit me with every beat of my heart. I tried to think like he would. Victor's men were still out there. The feds weren't far behind. I had to get to town. I had to keep moving. But my body wasn't having it. My ribs were screaming, and the cut on my neck had opened up again when I fell. I was just so tired. But when the sky started to turn grey, I forced myself up. Silas died so I could have this chance. I wasn't going to blow it. I followed the ravine, using the water to keep me on track. Every step was a battle with the pain. By mid-morning, the ravine walls started to level out. I climbed up, hoping to see something, anything that looked like civilization. Instead, I saw a clearing, and I froze. Bodies, 3 of them. Victor's men lying in the dirt. Each one had a single bullet hole in the forehead. It looked like an execution. My heart skipped. These guys weren't killed in the fight at the cabin. This was new. I looked around, gun ready. Nothing moved but the leaves. Was Victor's crew turning on itself? Or was it? No, I couldn't hope. Hope was too dangerous. I checked the bodies, grabbed a pistol, some ammo, and a satellite phone. The phone was locked, but I took it anyway. Then I kept heading east. An hour later, I heard it. The chop of a helicopter. So I dove under some pines. A black helicopter flew over, low and fast. No markings. Private. Was it Victor or something else? I kept moving, checking every shadow. The woods felt like they were watching me. By afternoon, I was done. I was stumbling. My brain felt like mush. I hit another stream and collapsed, drinking as much as I could. I was lost. The phone was useless. Night was coming, and I was too weak for another round of freezing cold. Right as I was trying to get back up, I heard it. A twig snap. Close. I wasn't alone. I reached for my gun, moving slow. I couldn't see anyone, but I knew I was being watched. I know you're there, I called out, my voice sounding like gravel. Show yourself. Silence. Then a man stepped out from behind a tree. He was tall, in tactical gear. Not Victor's guy. My heart pounded. Not Silas either. Agent Mitchell, the man said. He sounded American. He didn't have his gun aimed at me. I've been looking for you. I kept my gun on him. Who are you? A friend of Blackwood's. He pointed behind him and 2 more guys appeared. Same gear, same guns. We've been tracking you since the cabin. Silas is dead, I said, and the words felt like they were cutting my throat. The man didn't look surprised. He looked cautious. Is that what you saw? He asked. A tiny spark of hope hit my chest, and it hurt. I saw him stay. I heard the shots. He was hit before I even went over the edge. The man nodded. He was hit, yeah, but Blackwood is hard to kill. What are you saying? My voice was shaking. I'm saying we need to move, now. He pointed east. There's a car 2 miles away. We'll take you to him. To him. Silas. Alive. I wanted to believe it so bad that I didn't trust it. It could be a trap. Victor using him as bait. Or the feds. Prove it, I said, keeping my gun up. Prove you know him. The man sighed and reached into his pocket. He held up a small object. It was Silas's signet ring, the Blackwood crest. He said you'd need proof, the man said. He told me to tell you that this is his choice, that he's keeping his promise. The promise to survive together. I started crying. even though I didn't want to. Take me to him. They moved me through the woods fast. These guys were pros. 20 minutes later, we hit a road and a black SUV. Get in, the leader said. It's a 30-minute drive. I hesitated. Where are we going? Somewhere safe, he said. Blackwood will explain. The drive was silent. My head was spinning. What if he was badly hurt? What if he'd changed his mind? We pulled onto a private airstrip. A jet was waiting, engines running. The guys led me to the plane and the leader stepped back. He's inside, he said. Go. I climbed the stairs. Every step a struggle. I stopped at the top to catch my breath. The cabin was fancy. Too fancy after living in the dirt for days. At first, I thought nobody was there. Then a shadow moved. Silas! He stood up as I walked in. He was pale and his left arm was in a sling with white bandages showing under his black shirt. But he was alive. We just stared at each other. I couldn't believe it. You're alive, I finally said. Yeah. His voice was rough. They said you were dead. I thought... I couldn't even finish. I know. He took a step toward me, then stopped. He looked unsure. I'm sorry. That was it. The dam broke. I ran to him and his good arm wrapped around me. He held me tight and I could feel his heart beating against my face. I thought I lost you, I whispered. Never, he said. I promised. I pulled back to look at him. He was thinner and he looked exhausted, but his eyes were clear. What happened? I asked. After the ravine. He looked away for a second. Later. We have to go. Victor's still looking. The jet's engines got louder and the door shut. Where are we going? I asked as he helped me into a seat. Somewhere nobody can find us, he said. A place I've had ready. For a second, the old suspicion came back. Another plan, another game, but I let it go. We were past that. Tell me, I said, how did you survive? Silas sighed. I didn't think I would, he admitted. I thought it was over. Hearing him be that honest was a shock. Victor's men surrounded me, he said. I took 3 of them down before they hit me again. I was passing out when Shaw's team arrived. The backup I'd set up weeks ago, just in case. The bodies I found, I realized. Your men? He nodded. They cleared the area and got me to a doctor. I've spent the last 18 hours trying to find you. You almost died, I said, still feeling the terror of it. So did you. He squeezed my hand. I couldn't let that happen. Not when I finally found something worth living for. The words hit me hard. Is this real? I whispered. Or is it just another strategy? He looked hurt, but he understood why I was asking. This is real, he said. The only real thing I've had in a long time. The jet took off, leaving the woods behind. When I thought you were gone, I told him. I finally got why you built those walls. Why you tested me. His face softened. And now? Now I know that some things are worth the risk, I said. Even if you might lose them. I saw the last of his control break. I've spent my whole life planning for every disaster, he said quietly. But I wasn't ready for you. Is that good or bad? I asked. The best, he said, and the scariest. I leaned into him and kissed him. Not the goodbye kiss, but a real one. A beginning. "Where are we really going?" I asked. "An island," he said. "Private, safe, far away from Victor and the feds." And then, he looked vulnerable for a second. "That's up to you." "Me?" "What you want," he said. "I meant it. You're free. You can stay or you can go. It's your choice." He meant it. No conditions, no games. "I already made my choice," I said, resting my head on his shoulder. His arm tightened around me. "And if you change your mind?" "Then we figure it out together," I said. "No more games. Just the truth." The jet climbed higher, leaving everything behind. The mountain, the agency, our old lives. Ahead of us was nothing but the unknown. But as Silas's breathing got steady and he finally fell asleep, I watched the clouds. I didn't know what was waiting for us on that island, but I knew we'd face it together, not as a strategist and a pawn, but as us. Real. And for the first time, I felt something I thought I'd lost forever in that ravine. Hope. 6 months. That's how long paradise lasted. This island, a tiny speck in the Caribbean that doesn't even have a name on most maps, was everything Silas promised. White sand, water so blue it looks fake, and a villa tucked away in the jungle. It's perfect isolation. It's perfect safety. And it's a perfect prison. I'm standing on the balcony right now, watching the sunset turn the ocean into liquid fire. I've got a glass of wine in my hand that I haven't even tasted. Below me, the waves hit the shore with that same hypnotic rhythm I've listened to every single day for 183 days straight. The villa behind me is quiet. Way too quiet. Yeah. Silas left 3 days ago, taking his security team and that restless electric energy that always follows him, even when he's supposed to be relaxing. "Business," he told me, kissing me goodbye. There was a tenderness in it that still catches me off guard. 1 week, maybe 2. I didn't ask what kind of business. We have an unspoken agreement. A fragile kind of peace built on the wreckage of who we used to be. He doesn't ask about the nightmares that still make me wake up screaming about Victor and the sound of gunfire in those tunnels. And I don't ask about the encrypted calls, or the men who show up on unmarked boats, or the empire he's slowly rebuilding from the dark. Some things are better left in the shadows when the sunlight is this beautiful. My phone vibrates against the railing, the secure satellite line that only 3 people in the world can call. His face pops up, and my heart still does that annoying little skip. "You're still there," he says when I pick up. His voice is warm even through the static of the distance. It's not a question. It's a relief. "But where else would I go?" I ask. We fall into our usual rhythm. It's not quite the truth, but it's not exactly a lie either. "It's going to take longer than I thought," he says. I can hear noise in the background. People, traffic, life. A world I'm not part of anymore. Another week, maybe 2. I close my eyes and try to swallow the disappointment and that tiny spark of suspicion I can't quite kill. Is everything okay? "Nothing I can't handle." His voice drops, getting softer. "I miss you." "I miss you too." That's the most honest thing I've said all day. After we hang up, I stay out there, watching the darkness swallow the island. The truth is always there between us, even if we don't say it. This life is beautiful, but it's built on shifting sand. Silas never really left that mountain. Not all of him. Part of him is still the king of the ridge, calculating, controlling, always 10 moves ahead of everyone else. When he thinks I'm asleep, I see him staring at maps and moving pieces on a board I can't see. Victor is gone. I know that much. He died in a boating accident 3 months ago that made the news everywhere. The Fed's case against Blackwood Enterprises has gone cold. David Cross was moved. Then he quit. Then he just vanished. Every loose end was tied up perfectly. The world thinks Silas Blackwood is dead. Sometimes I wonder if they're right. The man who sleeps next to me, who holds me when I shake, who knows every one of my scars. He's real. The love we have, born out of blood and betrayal, that's real too. But so is the restlessness that keeps him away longer every time he leaves. So is the power he can't let go of. And so is the feeling I have that one of these days, he just won't come back. Not because he stopped loving me, but because love isn't always enough to change who you are at your core. I was a federal agent who turned my back on everything for a criminal who saw through me. He was a king who gave up his kingdom for a woman who wouldn't let him control her. We saved each other. We rebuilt each other. But some cracks never go away. I head inside as the night takes over. The villa feels massive and empty. On the coffee table, there's a small wooden box I've been avoiding. Inside are the papers Silas promised me back on the mountain. A new name, bank accounts, the freedom to leave whenever I want. He leaves it out every time he goes away. He never mentions it. It's just a silent reminder that I still have a choice. I've never opened it. Not because I'm stuck or because I'm scared to be alone, but because I made my choice a long time ago in a bunker. That's when I ran toward the danger instead of away from it. I chose a complicated, dangerous man over a safe, boring life. I made that choice with my eyes wide open. I'm living with it the same way. Tomorrow, I'll swim. I'll go to the shooting range behind the house. I'll read a book. And I'll wait for him to come back. Never totally sure he will, but never shocked when he does. And when he walks through that door, we'll fall into each other like we always do. Desperate and grateful and haunted. We'll whisper the things in the dark that we can't say in the light. For a few days, we'll believe in forever. Until the next call comes, the next business trip, the next test of this beautiful, broken thing we've made. Some nights, I wonder what would have happened if my father hadn't sold me, if I'd finished the mission, if I'd never seen the man behind Silas Blackwood's armor. I'd be safe. I'd be whole. I'd be unbroken. But I would never have known what it feels like to be truly seen, truly chosen, truly loved, not despite my dark side, but because of how it matches his. The price for that is high. The waiting, the space between us, it costs a lot. But as I climb into a bed that still smells like him, I know I'd pay it again. Every single time. Before Silas, I was just playing a part someone else wrote. Daughter, agent, asset. After him, after being broken and put back together, I finally became myself. And that's worth everything. The sun will come up tomorrow over an ocean that goes on forever. I'll spend another day waiting and wondering, choosing to stay, even though I know this paradise has an expiration date we're both too scared to talk about. But tonight, in the quiet of an island that doesn't exist, I'm remembering everything. The feel of that signet ring against my jaw, the smell of expensive leather, and the sound of that briefcase opening that changed my life. I remember a king who lost everything but found something better. I remember a woman who found her strength in being vulnerable. I remember us, not perfect, not guaranteed, but real in a world full of lies. And for right now, that's enough. The story might be over, but the feeling stays with you. Some loves aren't meant to last forever. They're meant to change you completely while they burn. Some choices leave scars we're happy to carry. Beautiful reminders of what it felt like to be truly chosen, even if it was just for a moment. If this story hit that part of you that knows the pain and the beauty of loving someone you might lose. Subscribe to the channel for the brave souls who know that the best stories aren't about perfect endings. They're about how we're changed by the people who see us for who we really are. Because some flames are worth the burn, even after they've gone cold.